Okay, so good morning everyone. Today we are going to start the tutorial number 5. Right. So if we go to the question number 1, it says that why it is easier for the central bank to manage the demand shocks than the supply side shocks. Right. So the question is asking us why it is easier for the central bank to manage the demand shocks than the supply side shocks. Right. So if I go to my whiteboard and when according to this question, according to this question, there are mainly two types of shocks that this question is talking about, right? So when we are talking about the shocks in the economy, we can identify there are two types of shocks, right? First one we call as the demand side shocks, right? And the other one is the supply side shocks, right? And we said that these demand side shocks are occurring as a result of change in the aggregate demand of the economy, right? If there is anything happen, if there is any kind of a shock happen that is affecting to the aggregate demand, we call that as the demand side shock, right? So with that, we can say that when it comes to supply side shock, we can also identify that these supply side shocks are happening as a result of change in the aggregate supply, right? So if there is anything unexpected happen in the aggregate supply that is affecting to the aggregating supply, we call it as the supply side shocks, right? So when it comes to the shocks happen in the economy, there are two types of shocks. First one is the demand side shocks, and these demand side shocks are arising as a result of a shock happen in the aggregate demand, or the change happen in the aggregate demand, right? And on the other hand, when it comes to the supply side shocks, these supply side shocks are happening as a result of change in the aggregate supply of the economy, right? So with that understanding, again, if we go to the question, it says that why it is easier for the central bank to manage the demand shocks than the supply side shocks, which means here we have identified two types of shocks, and from these two types of shocks, these demand side shocks are easier to manage, right? So from these two types of shocks, the demand side shocks are easier for central bank to manage than the supply side shocks. එතකොට ප්‍රශ්න කියලා තියෙන විදිහට central bank එකට මේ demand side shocks manage කරන එක ලේසි, supply side එකේ shocks manage කරනවට වඩා, right? Then again, if we look at the question is asking why it is easier. ඇයි මේක ලේසි වෙන්නේ කියලා තමයි අපෙන් අහන්නේ. So you have to explain why it is easier, why it is becoming easier to manage the demand shocks than the supply side shocks. So in this kind of a question, you have to explain what is mean by this kind of a demand shock, what is really happen in the demand shocks, and how the central bank can manage it, right? So you have to do the same thing for the supply side shocks as well, right? When we are answering to this question, the first thing we are going to look at is, so I'm briefing you here how we are going to answer to this kind of a question, right? So you have to mention, first thing you need to mention is what is happening, what is happen when there is a, what is happen when there is a demand shock, right? මම මුලින්ම කතා කරන්නේ demand shock පැත්ත ගැන. So you have to firstly identify what is happening under the demand shock, and then you have to understand how the central bank can how the central bank can control this, right? So that is the first part of this question, right? As a second part of this question in your answer, we are going to understand what is happening under the supply side shock, right? Supply side shock එකදී මොකද වෙන්නේ කියලා අපි බලනවා. Then we are going to understand how central bank can manage that. How central bank can manage that, right? So this is how we are going to develop our answer for this question, right? So with that, firstly, we are going to look at what? We are going to look at the demand side shocks, right? So here I'm going to put the topic as demand side shock. So in a demand side shock, what is happening? What is the variable that is changing? It is the aggregate demand, right? Aggregate demand කියන එක තමයි change වෙන්නේ. So when we are, in order to discuss this question further, I will give you an example for this demand side shock, right? So particularly, I am giving you an example for positive demand side shock, right? Positive demand side shock එකකට මම උදාහරණයක් දෙන්නම් මේ ප්‍රශ්න අපිට තව ඉස්සරහට කතා කරන්න යන්න. Right? So the example is, let's say the popularity for using the credit card has now increases. Popularity for using the credit card has increases. Right, so now what has happened? I have given you, we are talking about the demand side shocks, and I have give you an example for the positive demand side shock. So what is the example I have given to you? It is that the popularity for using the credit card has now increases, right? So nextly you have to understand what is happen when the popularity for using the credit card has increases. So you can pause the video and think what will happen in this kind of a scenario. So I hope you guys tried it. Huh? So when the popularity for using the credit card increases, what will happen? In order to do our day-to-day transaction, we are no longer hold money in our hand, right? So rather than holding money in our hand, what we are going to do? We are going to use our credit card, right? Rather than holding money in our hand, we are going to use our credit card to do our payments, right? So what will happen then? We are no longer holding money in our hand, which means we can say that the money demand in the economy is getting decreases, right? Money demand is getting decreases. Why money demand is getting decreases? Because people are no, so you have to understand what is money demand first. So what is mean by this money demand? It is the willingness of people to hold money in their hand, right? අපි මුදල් ඉල්ලුම කියලා කියන්නේ මිනිස්සු එයාලගේ අතේ මුදල් තියාගෙන ඉන්න තියෙන කැමැත්තට තමයි මේ money demand එක කියලා අපි කියන්නේ, right? When the popularity for using the credit card increases, what will happen to the money demand? It is getting decreases, which mean people are holding less amount of money in their hand, right? මිනිස්සු එතකොට එයාලා ගතේ තියන් ඉන්නේ පොඩි මුදල් ප්‍රමාණයක්. So thereby we are telling that the velocity in the economy is getting increases. Velocity of the economy is getting increases. Why the velocity of the economy is getting increases? People are holding less amount of money in their hand, and this less amount of money is circulating very fast in the economy. That's why we are telling that the velocity in the economy is getting increases, right? Then you have to link, or you have to have an understanding where this velocity we can link. අපිට කොහෙටද මේ velocity කියන එක link කරන්න පුළුවන් කියන එක බලන්න ඕන, right? Again, can you guys please pause the video and try to think where we can link this velocity? So we can link the velocity to the quantity theory of money equation. Right? Hope you can remember that. So in the quantity theory of money equation, we told you that MV is equal to P into I. Right? M into V is equal to P into I. Right? Here what is mean by M? I'm not going to go much detail. මම මෙතන වැඩිපුර විස්තර කතා කරන්න යන්නේ නැහැ. You have learned those things. So I'm just simply remembering you are, right? So what is mean by M? M is the money supply in the economy. What is mean by V? V is the velocity, and P is the price level of the economy, and here Y is the real GDP of the economy, right? So when the real GDP of the economy is multiplied by the price level, we call this as the nominal GDP, right? මෙන්න මේ price එක y ගෙන් වැඩි කරාට පස්සේ එන අගයට අපි කියනවා nominal GDP එක කියලා. Right? This is the nominal GDP. Then what has happened now? According to our scenario, there is no any change in the money supply. Right? However, we have identified that the velocity is now getting increases. Right? when the velocity is getting increases, that means this side of the equation is now getting increases, which mean this side also needed to be getting increases. Why is that? These two sided must be equal. මේ පැති දෙකම සමාන වෙන්න ඕන. එහෙමනම් velocity එකේ වැඩි වෙනවා කියන්නේ equation එකේ මේ පැත්ත යගේ වැඩි වෙනවා. එහෙමනම් මේ පැත්ත යගේත් වැඩි වෙන්න ඕන. ඇයි වැඩි වෙන්න ඕන? මේ equation එකේ දෙපැත්ත සමාන හින්දා. Which mean ultimately what will happen to the nominal GDP? It is getting increases. Which mean ultimately we can say that the aggregate demand of the economy is getting increases. Ultimately අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන් මේ හින්දා aggregate demand of the economy is getting increases. Right? So where we are, what we are doing now, we are looking at the demand side shocks, right? So we are looking at the demand side shock. So I told you that in this question, when we are going to answer in this question, firstly we are going to look at what is happening under the demand side shock. So that's what we are still looking. තාම මේ පළවෙනි part එක තමයි අපි කතා කර කර ඉන්නේ. Right? So for the demand side shock, we have used the positive demand side shock. And when that kind of a positive demand side shock is happening, finally we have identified that the aggregate demand is ultimately getting increases, right? Ultimately aggregate demand එක වැඩි වෙනවා කියන එක අපි identify කරගත්තා. Right? Then what we are going to do is we are going to look at how we can show this scenario in a graph. මේ aggregate demand එකේ මෙච්ච මේ වැඩිවීම අපි කොහොමද graph එක පෙන්වන්නේ කියන එක තමයි අපි ඊළඟට කතා කරන්න යන්නේ. Right? To do that, I'm going to draw a graph. So I have draw a graph in here. So here we have the price level and here we have the Y or the output level of the economy. And here I have drawn the long run aggregate supply curve and the short run aggregate supply curve and the aggregate demand curve as well. Right? And when we are looking at the short run aggregate supply curve, we can see that it is a horizontal line, right? But when it comes to the long run aggregate supply curve, it is a vertical line, right? So my question is why the long run aggregate supply curve is a vertical curve like this and the short run aggregate supply curve is a horizontal curve like this, right? So in the lecture you have learned these things, why this is happening, so you can again refer it to back. So if I, in order to discuss further this question, I will simply explain that. ඔයාලට lecture note වලට ගිහින් බලන්න ඔයාලගේ ඒක ගොඩාක් ඔයාලට කතා කරලා ඇති ඇයි එහෙම වෙලා තියෙන්නේ කියලා. But for the moment, so when it comes to short run aggregate supply curve, we said that it is a horizontal curve because in the short run prices are sticky, right? Short run එකට ආවට පස්සේ අපි කියන prices are sticky. That's why no matter whatever the output level produced in the economy, price is same. මේ මෙතන price එක කියන එක කිසිම change එකක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. No matter whatever the output we produce, right? That's why we are telling that in the short run prices are sticky, right? However, when it comes to the long run aggregate supply curve, we said that in the long run, firms are utilizing its capital and labor at its maximum level, right? And on the other hand, the laborers are requesting their higher salary in the long run as well, right? So because of that, we said that when it comes to the long run, the prices are not longer sticky, right? The prices are changing. However, the output level is fixed, right? Output level එක අපි ෆික්ස් කියලා කියනවා long run එකේදී. ඇයි අපි මේක ෆික්ස් කියලා කියන්නේ? මොකද long run එකට එද්දී අපේ තියෙන input පාවිච්චි කරලා අපිට හදන්න පුළුවන් output ප්‍රමාණය තියෙනවා. So no matter whatever the changes happen in the short run, in the long run, we can only produce with the capital we are available to us. අපිට තියෙන capital එකෙන් හදන්න පුළුවන් උපරිම ප්‍රමාණය තමයි මේ long run aggregate supply curve එකෙන් පෙන්වන්නේ. Right? So this long run aggregate supply curve is showing us what we can produce with the labor and capital available to us in the long run. right? Which mean in the short run there can be variation happen in the output level. However, when it comes to the long run, we are moving back to our initial or the original output level, right? Which mean we are coming back to this long run aggregate supply curve. Why we are coming back to the long run aggregate supply curve? Because that is ultimately what we can produce with the resources available to us. අපිට තියෙන සම්පත් ටික පාවිච්චි කරලා අපිට ප්‍රොඩියුස් කරන්න පුළුවන් උපරිම ප්‍රමාණය තමයි long run aggregate supply curve එකෙන් පෙන්වන්නේ. එහෙමනම් ෂෝට් රන් එකේදී මොන විදිහේ වේරියේෂන් ඇති වුණත් අපි කියනවා ලොං රන් එකේදී අපි ලොං රන් ඇග්‍රිගේට් සප්ලයි කර්ව් එකට එනවා කියන එක. Right? So no matter whatever the changes happen in the short run, anyway when it comes to the long run, we are coming back to the long run aggregate supply curve. Why we are coming back to the long run aggregate supply curve? Because it is showing us what we can produce with the resources available to us. Right? So that part I have told you now, you need to have a clear understanding. Otherwise, you might be getting confused why we are always going back to this long run aggregate supply curve, right? So because in today's session, when we are further discussing this question, we are going to see what is happening in the short run and what is happening in the long run, so you might be getting confused. So only thing that you need to keep in your mind is that when it comes to the short run, there can be variation happen in the output level, right? So you can see that the output level is changing in the short run. However, when it comes to the long run, the output level is fixed, right? So that's the only thing you have to keep in your mind. Otherwise, you might be getting confused, right? Then, if you can remember, according to our scenario, what has finally happened? The aggregate demand of the economy has increases, right? So before this change happened, we are at this point A, right? අපි කලින් හිටිය මෙන්න මේ point එකේ. This is our initial equilibrium point, right? However, now what has happened? The aggregate demand has increases, which mean this aggregate demand curve is now shifting to the upside like this. This is the new aggregate demand curve, right? එතකොට මේක තමා අලුත් aggregate demand curve එක, right? So in here, you can see that when it comes to the short run, when it comes to the short run, we are in here, right? Short run එකට ආවට පස්සේ අපි මෙන්න මෙතන තමයි ඉන්නේ. So what has happened in the short run? In the short run, our output level has increases from y0 to y1, right? In the short run, because of the increase happened in the aggregate demand, we have moved from point A to point B. When we are moving from point A to point B, what has happened to our output level? The output level of the economy has increases from y0 to y1, right? So here I'm going to write down in the short run what has happened to the y has increases. However, when it comes to the price level, it is remaining constant, right? ෂෝට් රන් එකේදී output එක වැඩි වෙලා තියෙනවා. හැබැයි price level එකේ කිසිම change එකක් වෙලා නැහැ. We are in the P1 price level. Then we are going to look at what will happen in the long run, right? So when it comes to the long run, student, what will happen? Now we are in this new aggregate demand curve number 2. So we are going to look at which point this aggregate demand curve is getting intersected with the long run aggregate supply curve. So you can see that at this point C, I'm calling this as the point C. This point C, the long run aggregate supply curve is getting intersected with the new aggregate demand curve. So what has happened in this new point C, the price level has increases from P1 to P2. However, when it comes to the output level, it has come back to its original position, right? Or in other word, in the long run, there is no any change, right? In the long run, there is no any change in the output level. However, what has happened to the price level? It is getting increases, right? So the price level has get a increases, right? So in the long run, price level has increases, but there is no any change in the output level of the economy. Then you might be getting confused why in the short run there is an increase happen in the output level, but but the in the long run the output is getting decreases. On the other hand, prices are getting increases as well. So if I give you a very simple example for this, so in the short run what has happened, you can see that the price level hasn't changed but the output has increases, which mean when it comes to the firm they are earning more profit, right? They are earning more profit with the new produce output level, right? Output එකේ වැඩිවීමකුත් තියෙනවා, එයාලා වැඩිපුර earnුත් කරනවා, right? But though there is such kind of increase in their revenue due to the increase in the output, they haven't increased any salary for their employees නේ. මේ output එක මෙහෙම A නම් B ට වැඩි වුණා කියලා එයාලා කෙටි කාලයේදී එයාලගේ සේවකයන්ගේ salaries වැඩි කරන්නේ නැහැ, right? So in the short run, they are not going to increase the employee salary, right? However, when it comes to the long run, we are assuming that these firms need to increases the salary for these people, right? So they need to increase the salary of their employee. When that is happening, their cost of production is getting increases. Because of that, what they are going to do is they are going to reduce their output level, and on the other hand, they are going to increases the price level of the product as well. So in the long run, what will happen is they are coming back to their original output level, and prices has now increases, right? So that is what happening under the positive demand shock. තර මෙන්න මේ අපි මේ වෙනකන් තාම කතා කරේ positive demand shock එකක් වුණාම මොකක්ද වෙන්නේ කියන එක. Right? So which mean we have done with this part, right? අපි මෙන්න මේ part එක එහෙනම් දැන් කතා කරලා ඉවරයි. Right? So we have done with this part. We have understand that what will happen in a demand shock. Demand shock එකක් වුණාම මොකද වෙන්නේ කියන එක අපි කතා කරා. Then we are going to understand how the central bank can control this kind of a shift happen in the demand shock or the aggregate demand. Right? So අපි මේ වෙනකන් කතා කරේ කොහොමද demand shock එකක් වෙන්නේ. demand shock එකක් වුණාම මේ curves වලින් අපිට මොනවද බලා ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ කියන එක. Right? Then we are going to look at what the central bank can do. Right? So we are going to look at what central bank can do. So when this kind of a scenario was happen, what the central bank can do. So in order to understand this, I'm again using the quantity theory of money equation. Here you have m into v is equal to p into y. Right? Here you can remember that v is the velocity, p into y is the nominal GDP of the economy, and here we have something called m. What is mean by this M? It is the money supply of the economy. Right? මේ M වලින් අදහස් කරේ economy එකේ තියෙන money supply එක. So if you can remember, central bank has the authority to control the money supply in a particular country, which means by controlling this money supply, they can influence by sorry, by changing the money supply of the economy, the central bank can influence on the nominal GDP of the economy. Right? Central bank එකට මේ money supply එක control කිරීම තුළින් nominal GDP එකට influence කිරීමේ හැකියාවක් තියෙනවා. Which mean, let's say the central bank decided to decreases the money supply of the economy, which mean this side of the equation is now getting decreases, and accordingly this side also needed to be getting decreases, which mean when the central bank decided to decreases the money supply of the economy, nominal GDP of the economy is getting decreases. Ultimately what will happen, the aggregate demand of the economy is getting decreases, right? එතකොට මේ වගේ වෙලාවක මොකද වෙන්නේ, money supply එක central bank එක අඩු කරොත් nominal GDP එක අඩු වෙනවා. එහෙමනම් aggregate demand එක අඩු වෙනවා. Right? So, according to our scenario, in this kind of uh, scenario was happen, what the central bank need to do is they can do is they can reduce the money supply of the economy. When the central bank reduces the money supply of the economy, what will happen? Aggregate demand of the economy is getting decreases, right? So in this scenario, what is the central bank policy action then? Central bank need to reduce their money supply, right? So when the central bank is going to reduce their money supply, what will happen? This aggregate demand is shifting downward, right? Which means if I go back to our initial graph in here, so now here we have I understand what will happen when the aggregate demand is getting increases, but according to the central bank action taken, what will happen? The money supply is getting decreases. As a result of that, this aggregate demand curve is shifting back to its original position. Right? When that is happening, what will happen? We are now in the initial aggregate demand curve, which means we are at this point A at as our equilibrium. And in this point A, the long run aggregate supply curve, short run aggregate supply curve, and the aggregate demand curve, and both these three curves are intersecting at the same point, which means this is the policy action that should be taken by the central bank. එහෙනම් මේක තමයි central bank එක මේ වෙලාවේදී කරන්න ඕන policy action එක. මොකද්ද මේ policy action එකේදී වෙන්නේ? central bank එක money supply එක වැඩි කරනවා. money supply එක වැඩි කරන එකේ result එකක් විදිහට aggregate demand එක අඩු වෙනවා. එහෙමනම් we are coming back to our original position. Right? එතකොට uh, if the central, let's say if the central bank decided to do nothing in this kind of a shock, if the central bank decided to not do nothing in this kind of a shock, what will happen in the long run? Output is not changing. However, the price level of the economy is getting increases. Central bank එක මේ වෙලාවේ කිසිම දෙයක් නොකර හිටියොත් මොකද වෙන්නේ? output එකේ කිසිම change එකක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. හැබැයි price level of the economy is getting increases. However, if the central bank decided to do a change, particularly if the central bank decided to decrease their money supply, what will happen? We are coming back to our initial aggregate demand curve, which means we are coming back to our original level, that is point A. At this point A, the output is not changing and also the price is not changing, right? Which means in this kind of a demand shock, central bank should reduce their money supply, right? So with that, we have discussed what is happening under the demand shock and how the central bank can control the this kind of a demand shock. Then we are going to talk about what is a supply side shock, right? What is happening in the supply side shock? Supply side shock එකක් වුණාම මොකද වෙන්නේ කියන එක තමයි අපි ඊළඟට කතා කරන්න යන්නේ. Right? Okay, so let's say that we are going to talk about the supply side shock. Right? අපි දැන් කතා කරන්න යන්නේ එහෙනම් supply side shock එකක් ගැන. So here we are going to talk about the supply side shock. So in a supply side shock, what is the variable that is changing? It is the aggregate supply. Is the what that is changing. For here, I'm going to talk about, since we have talked a positive side demand shock in the demand shock side, here I'm going to talk about a negative supply side shock, right? For an example for this negative supply side shock, we can identify the price increase in the oil, right? For the oil price increase. Oil price increase. So this is a negative supply side shock, right? So when the oil price increases, we can identify that as the negative supply side shock. So when this kind of a negative supply side shock was happen, what will happen? We can identify that in the short run, the prices are now getting increases, right? Or in other words, the input prices are getting increases, right? Input prices are getting increases. As a result of that, we can identify that the aggregate supply is getting decreases in the short run. මේවා short run එකේදී කියලා තමයි අපි අඳුරගන්නේ. මොකද long run එකේදී change එකක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Right? Because in the long run, the prices are not sticky. Uh, in the long run, there is no change. But when it comes to the short run, the aggregate supply is getting changing. Right? Then we are going to look at how we can show this kind of a scenario in a graph. So I'm going to draw a graph here. So here we have the price. Here we have the Y. So I have drawn the graph in here. Now what has happened? The aggregate supply is getting decreases, which means in the short run aggregate supply curve is shifting to this, is shifting to upside, or in other words, the prices level are now getting increases, right? So in the short run, prices have now getting increases, which means this is the new equilibrium point in the short run, and this is our initial equilibrium point, right? Then we are still in the scenario that how to understand a negative side supply side shock, right? So now what has happened according to this scenario? In the short run, the output of the economy has now getting decreases, right? So the output of the economy has now getting decreases, and on the other hand, what has happened to the output level of the economy? So output level has getting decreases. What has happened to the price level? It is getting increases, right? So this is the short run scenario. Then we need to understand what will happen in the long run. Long run එකේදී මොකද වෙන්නේ කියලාත් අපි දැනගෙන ඉන්න ඕන. Right? So when it comes to the long run, what I have told you in the previously at the beginning of this session, I have told you that no matter whatever the changes happen in the short run, we are going back to our original or the long run aggregate supply curve. ෂෝට් රන් එකේදී මොන විදිහේ චේන්ජ් එකක් වුණත් වැඩක් නැහැ. ලොංග් රන් එකට ආවට පස්සේ අපි අපේ ඉනිෂියල් අවුට්පුට් ලෙවල් එකටම අනිවාර්යෙන් අපි යනවා. right? Which means we are going back to our original output level, right? So here we don't have a two separate aggregate demand curve, which means we need to look at where this our initial aggregate demand curve is intersecting with the long run aggregate supply curve. So when you are looking at that, you can see that uh, in the long run, even though in the short run we have moved from point A to point B, in the long run, we are coming back to our original point of point A, right? Which means if we haven't do anything to the aggregate demand curve, so in the long run, what will happen? There is no change in the price level and the output level. So in the short run, in the long run, there is no any change in the price level and the output level, because even though in the short run we have moved from point A to point B, in the long run we are coming back to this point A, which means we are coming back to our original price level and the output level. That's why I have mentioned that there is no any change in the long run. However, in the short run, output is getting decreases and the prices are getting increases. Right? So now you have a proper understanding what will happen in the negative supply side shock. Then we need to have an understanding how the central bank can manage how the central bank can manage this kind of a scenario. How CBSL can manage, right? How the central bank is going to manage this kind of a scenario, right? So when it comes to this kind of a supply side shock, first policy action that they can do is they can do nothing. right? Central bank එකට කරන්න පුළුවන් එක දෙයක් තමයි මුකුත්ම නොකර ඉන්න එක. Right? Why I am saying that do nothing is a good policy action? Because if the central bank doesn't do anything in the long run, what has happened? Central bank එක කිසිම දෙයක් නොකර හිටියත් long run එකේදී මොකද වෙන්නේ? We are coming back to our original output level and the original price level. Right? So which means central bank doesn't need to do any kind of involvement. If the central bank doesn't do any kind of involvement in this kind of a scenario, it doesn't matter. We are coming back to the original output level and the price level. right නේ central bank එකේ කිසිම දෙයක් මේ වෙලාව නොකර හිටියත් අපි අපේ initial output level එකට සහ initial price level එකට එනවා. So then we can identify first thing that the central bank can do is they can do nothing. Right? Let's say there is another policy action that the central bank can take. Now, in the short run, what has happened? The price level of the economy is getting increases. On the other hand, output also getting decreases. If we assume that the central bank want to have this Y0 output as their output. හිතමුක අපි නිකමට සෙන්ට්‍රල් බෑන්ක් එකට ඕන වෙනවා මේ Y0 කියන output level එකේම එයාලගේ output level එක තියාගන්න output එක ඊට වඩා වැඩි වෙනවට එයා කැමති නැහැ. Right? So we are assuming that central bank doesn't want to have a decrease in their output even in the short run, which means they want to maintain the same output level in the short run as well as the long run, which means they need to increase. In this kind of a scenario, if the central bank want to do a such kind of thing, what they are going to do is they are going to increase they can increase the money supply of the economy, right? So when the central bank increases the money supply of the economy, what will happen? You can remember that we have the MV equal PY formula. Here now the central bank is going to increases the money supply. When the central bank increases the money supply, P into Y, or in other words, the nominal GDP of the economy is getting increases. Ultimately, aggregate demand curve is getting increases. Right? So if we assume that the central bank has now decided to increases the money supply, ultimately what will happen is aggregate demand curve is getting increases. So how we are going to show that in a graph? So here we have the graph in here. Now what the central bank has did in the short run. So before the central bank action in the short run, there was an increase in the oil price. As a result of that, we have moved from point A to point B. However, central bank doesn't want to stay at this point B because the output level has reduced. On the other hand, prices are now increased. So because of that, what the central bank decided to do, they have decided to increases the money supply. So when they have increases the money supply, what has happened to the aggregate demand? It is getting increases. So this is your new aggregate demand curve. So this is the AD2. So now what has happened? The aggregate demand curve has shifted to the right side as a result of the policy action number 2. So now we are going to look at what point we are meeting the long run aggregate supply curve. So you can see that this is at this point C, we are coming to the long run aggregate supply curve, or the new aggregate demand curve is intersecting with the long run aggregate supply curve at this point C. Initially, we are at the point B when after this scenario was happened. However, as a result of central bank decided to increases the money supply, we have moved from point B to point C. So when we are moving from point B to point C, what you can see, the output level has now increases. Y Y0 වෙනකන් output level එක වැඩි වෙනවා. However, there is no any change in the price level. So here, if I mention the results of the policy action, results of the policy action, policy action number 2. What are the results? The price is not changing. However, uh, price is not changing mean prices has increases. Price එක change වෙන්නේ කියන්නේ මේ P2 level එකේම තියෙනවා. However, when it compared to the P1, it has increases, right? But what happened to the output level? Output has increases. Output එක Y1 ඉඳන් Y0 වෙනකන් වැඩි වෙලා තියෙනවා. Right? What will happen in the ultimately then, even though in the long run we have moved to our initial output level, we are in a higher price. Right? එතකොට අපි මේක කතාව ක්ලියර් කරගත්තොත් එහෙම අපි policy action දෙකක් කතා කරා. First one is the do nothing, right? So when we are talking about the policy action, we have discussed about two policy action. First one is do nothing. When the central bank is do nothing, I have told you that even though in the short run we have moved from point A to point B, in the long run we are coming back to the point A, right? However, if the central bank decided to increases the money supply as their policy, what will happen? The aggregate demand is getting increases. Why the central bank is going to increases their money supply? Because in order to, they want to have their output level at the original level, right? So when the central bank is increasing their money supply, we can see that this aggregate demand curve 1 is shifting to the aggregate demand curve number 2, which mean this point C is our new equilibrium point. මේ point C එක තමයි අපේ අලුත් equilibrium point එක වෙන්නේ. So in this new equilibrium level, what has happened? We have reached to our initial output level, which means we have reached to the output level of Y0. However, the prices has now increases, which mean what has happened when the central bank has decided to do this kind of policy action, output has reset, even though the output has returned to its original level, we have the permanently higher price level. නේ තර මේ policy action එක හින්දා අපේ output එක අපි කලින් තිබ්බ ගානටම ගෙනාවා. මේ shock එක හින්දා වෙච්ච price output එකේ වෙච්ච අඩුවීම අපි policy action එක තුලින් කලින් තිබ්බ ගානටම ගෙනාවා. හැබැයි කලින් තිබ්බ ගානම output එක උනත් ඒක produce කරන price එක දැන් ගොඩක් වැඩි. Right? So this is what happened under the supply side shock. However, if we look at the demand side shock, what has happened? Central bank can fully control the aggregate demand. So at that time, when the central bank decreases the money supply, we have moved to point A. ඔයාලට මතක නම් අපි මේ point A කියන තැනට ultimately ආවා. At this point A, we are in the original output level with the original prices. However, in here, when the central bank take this policy action, even though we have returned to the original output level, we are in the higher price. කලින් කතාවේ අපි මෙතන central bank එක aggregate demand එක change කරලා original output level එකට ගෙනාවම price level එකත් original level එකටම ආවා, output level එකත් original level එකටම ආවා. මේ demand shock එකදී. හැබැයි supply side shock එකකදී central bank එක මෙහෙම කරොත් output එක යාගේ original level එකටම එනවා තමා. හැබැයි price level එක වැඩි. So with that you can understand. So in our question, they ask in why it is easier for the central bank to manage the demand shock than the supply side shock. So when the central bank is managing the demand side shock, they can bring the output level back to its original level without causing any change in the price level. Right here you can see that central bank come back to its original output level without changing the price level. However, when it comes to the supply side shock, what has happened? Central bank can go back to its original output level. However, they are going to a higher price, comparatively higher price. So that's why we are telling that managing the demand side shocks are easier than managing the supply side shocks, right? So with that, we can finish the question number one, right? So you can take some time and read what we have done so far, right? වීඩියෝ එක මෙතනින් pause කරලා පොඩ්ඩක් බලන්න අපි මේ වෙනකම් මොකද කරේ කියන එක මෙතනින් එහාට ප්‍රශ්න ටික ගැන කතා කරන්න කලින්. Okay, so if we go to the question number 2, it says that suppose the central bank reduces the money supply by 5% and assume the velocity of money is constant, right? So the first thing they're asking is what happened to the aggregate demand curve. So what the central bank did now, they have reduces the money supply by 5% and the question is asking us to assume that the velocity of the money is constant, right? The first thing they're asking is what will happen to the aggregate demand curve. So I will go to whiteboard. So I'm going to whiteboard in here. So the first thing they are asking is when the central bank reduces the money supply by 5%, what will happen to the aggregate demand curve, right? So we have learned the quantity theory of money equation, and the quantity theory of money equation says that m into m into v is equal to p into y, right? And also we have learned that this p into y is showing the aggregate demand of the economy, right? So according to this given scenario, now what has happened, the central bank has reduces the money supply by 5%, right? And they have saying that the velocity is now constant, right? Which mean this side of the equation has reduces by 5%, which mean this side also needed to be reduces by 5%, which mean ultimately the aggregate demand is getting decreases by 5%, right? එහෙනම් අන්තිම උත්තරය වෙන්නේ aggregate demand එක 5% වලින් අඩු වෙනවා කියන එක, right? So if we show that in the graph, if I draw a graph for that, this is how the graph should look like. then මේකට අපි graph එකක් ඇන්දොත් මෙන්න මේ විදිහට තමයි graph එක එන්නේ. Here you can see that the aggregate demand curve will shift from AD1 to AD2, right? So this will be the new aggregate demand curve, right? So the question is asking what happened to the aggregate demand curve. The aggregate demand curve is shifting to the left side, or you can say the aggregate demand is reduces by 5%, right? Then if we go to the next question, the second part B is asking us what happened to the level of output and the price level in the short run and the long run, right? So they are asking us what will happen in the short run and the long run for the both the output and the price level, right? So I am pasting a new graph in here, so you can draw this graph. So as you can see in here, when anything happen, we are previously in this point A, right? At the initially we are at this point A. However, when the central bank reduces the money supply, what has happened? We have moved from AD1 to AD2, right? So when this movement happen, first thing we are going to look at what will happen in the short run, or we are going to identify what are the implications in the short run, right? So in order to identify the short run impact, we are looking at which point our new aggregate demand curve, that means AD2 curve, is intersecting with the short run aggregate supply curve. Here you can see that at this point B, our initial our new aggregate demand curve is intersecting with the short run aggregate supply curve, which means in the short run we have moved from point A to point B, right? We have moved from point A to point B. When this movement happened, which means when we are moving from point A to point B, what has happened to the price? Price is not changed, right? There is no any change in the price. However, when we are looking at the output level of the economy, you can see that output has reduces from y bar to y2, right? So when we are looking at the output, it has reduces, right? So this is the movement happened in the short run. So the question is asking us what is happened to the output and the price level in the short run and the long run. So we have identified what will happen to the price and the output in the short run. Next we are going to identify what will happen in the long run. ඊළඟට අපි කතා කරන්නේ එතකොට එහෙනම් long run එකේදී මොකද වෙන්නේ කියන එක. So I'm going to erase this part. Right, so now in the short run, now what has happened according to this scenario, we have moved from point A to point B, right? However, as I told you at the beginning of this session, in the long run, any firm, any economy will going back to its long run equilibrium, right, or its natural levels, which mean since now we are in new aggregate demand curve of AD2, and we have to identify where this new aggregate demand curve is getting intersected with the long run aggregate supply curve. So in order to find that, from this point B we are going downward until we meet the point C. So at this point C, the our new aggregate demand curve is intersecting with the long run aggregate supply curve. So which mean in the long run, this is where we are locating. Right, so now we are going to identify what are the impacts in the long run. So when we are moving from when it comes to the long run situation, what happened to our output in the short run? Output has reduces from y bar to y2. However, now we have moved from y2 to y bar, which means there is no any change in the output level, right? Output එක කිසිම change එකක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ, right? And when it comes to the price level, what we can see is previously we are at this point B, now we have moved to point C, which means prices has reduces, price has reduced, right? So these are the impacts in the long run. So with that we have completed the part B of this question as well. Now we can go to the part C. So I'm copying this part C. So in the part C they are asking us, considering your answer to the part B, what happened to the unemployment in the short run and the long run according to the Ocon's law. Before we move into this question, I forgot to mention you that in this scenario we have identified that the change in the aggregate demand is 5%, right? We have identified that the change in the aggregate demand is 5%. However, when we are coming to understand, even though we have generally mentioned the aggregate demand has decreases by 5%, in order to identify which variable actually change, which means either the price or the y output is changed, what we can do is, so in this, when it comes to the short run, so if I coming back to this graph here, you can remember that when we are talking about the short run scenario, we have identified that we have moved from point A to point B, right? Which mean output has reduces from y bar to y2, right? If you want to get what is the percentage change in here, right? If you want to get what is the percentage change in here, it is 5%. Why I am saying that it is 5%? In the short run we have identified that prices are sticky, which means even though we have moved from point A to point B, price hasn't changed, right? However, the output has reduced, which means, so I'm sorry, so in the price you can see there is no any movement, however the output has reduced. So which mean in the short run, when it comes to this equal mv equal py, even though we have generally mentioned that py is decreases by 5%, actually in the short run the y is changing, right? So in the short run, y is the only factor that is changing by 5%. When it comes to the price, it is no change, right? ප්‍රයිස් එක කියන එක කිසිම චේන්ජ් එකක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක 0% චේන්ජ් එකක් තමයි තියෙන්නේ. හැබැයි අවුට්පුට් එක ගත්තොත් එහෙම ඒක 100%කින් අඩු වෙනවා. Right? So in the same manner, if we look at the long run scenario also, what we can see that in the long run, we have moved from point A to point C. So we have identified that we have moved from point A to B, then B to C. Right? There we have identified that there is no any change in the output, which means this mv equal py equation, y is now no change, right? For the y there is no any change, that is it means 0. However, the prices has reduced, which mean now the prices has reduces by 5%, which mean that even though when the central bank is reduces the money supply by 5%, in the short run it is actually affecting on the real GDP. However, when it comes to the long run, when the central bank do such kind of a change in the money supply, it is affecting on the price level of the economy, right? So that's the thing you need to have an understanding, right? Okay, so if we go to the part C, it says that considering your answer to the part B, what happened to the unemployment in the short run and in the long run according to the Okun's law. First thing in this kind of a question, first thing you need to know is what is mean by this Okun law. So I'm going back to my whiteboard. So here when it comes to the Okun's law, he said that the Okun's law is showing us the, according to the Okun's law, it says that there is a negative relationship, right? There is a negative relationship between GDP and the unemployment of the economy, right? According to the Okun's law, it says that when we are looking at the relationship between the GDP and the unemployment, we can see there is a negative relationship, which means whenever the GDP is getting increases, whenever the GDP is getting increases, unemployment is getting decreases, right? Accounts law එකෙන් කියන්නේ GDP එක සහ unemployment කියන එක අතර negative relationship එකක් තියෙනවා කියන එක. එතකොට ඒකේ අදහස GDP එක වැඩි වෙද්දී unemployment එක අඩු වෙනවා කියන එක. Right? So now in this question it is asking us, we have to identify what is happened to the unemployment in the short run and in the long run according to the Okun's law. Right? So I'm going down here. So we need to identify what will happen to the unemployment, right? We need to identify what will happen to the unemployment in the short run and in the long run, right? So according to the Okun's law, we have identified that there is a negative relationship between GDP and the unemployment, right? So in order to determine what will happen to the unemployment, here we need to have the GDP, right? So if I go back to here we have identified that in the short run we have moved from point A to point B, right? Here we have identified that in the short run the output or the real GDP of the economy has moved from point A to point B, which means the real GDP has decreases, right? Which means the real GDP has now decreases. So we can say that in the short run GDP is getting decreases, right? Then what will happen to the unemployment? Unemployment must be getting increases. Why? There is a inverse relationship, which means whenever the GDP is getting decreases, unemployment level must be increasing, right? Then if we go back to the long run scenario, we can identify that even though in the short run we have moved from point A to point B, we have come again to the point C in the long run, which means in the long run there is no any change in the output level, right? There is no any change in the output level. So in the long run there is no any change in the GDP level, right? So when there is no change in the GDP, there is no change in the unemployment as well, right? So this is the answer for the part C, right? Then we can go to the next question. The next question is asking us what happened to the real interest rate in the short run and the long run, right? So I'm going to here and put this question. So in this part D, they're asking us what will happen to the real interest rate in the short run and the long run. So you have to have an idea where we have discussed the real interest rate, right? So you can pause the video and try to think by yourself where you have learned about this real interest rate. So actually you have learned this real interest rate when we are talking about the financial market, right? So if you can remember, in the financial market, sorry, so when it comes to the financial market, here we have the real interest rate, right? And here we have the quantity or the level, the amount, and this is the savings curve, and here we have the investment curve, right? So at the point where the savings and the investment curve are getting intersected, we call that is the re real interest rate in the financial market, right? මේ savings curve එකයි investment curve එකයි intersect වෙන point එකේ තියෙන interest rate එකට තමයි අපි කිව්වේ real interest rate එක කියලා, right? So now we need to understand what will happen to the real interest rate in the short run as well as the long run. So firstly we are going to look at the short run. Before that, we need to have an understanding how we link our scenarios, the scenario that we have discussed so far, how we can link it to this graph, right? So we can link that by using the formula of saving function, right? So what is the function for savings? We said that savings is equal to y minus c minus g, right? Y mean the real GDP minus consumption expenditure minus government expenditure is our savings, right? Then with that understanding, firstly we are going to look at the short run scenario, right? So in the short run, what has happened? So in here we have mentioned that in the short run what has happened to the GDP or the Y, it has getting decreases, right? මොකද උනේ Y වලට Y වල අගය අඩු වෙලා තියෙනවා, which mean when it comes to the short run, we can write S equals y minus c minus g, and in here now in the short run the y has now getting decreases, which mean in the short run savings are getting decreases, which mean what happened to the savings curve in the short run? The savings curve will be so the savings curve will be, I'm sorry about the graph. Okay, so the savings curve will shift from S1 to S2, right? So in the short run, the Y is getting decreases. When the output of the economy is getting decreases, savings are getting decreases in the short run. So the savings is getting decreases mean real interest rate is getting increases from R1 to R2. So we can write that in the short run, savings are getting decreases. On the other hand, what happened to the real interest rate? Real interest rate is getting increases, right? Next we are going to look at what will happen in the long run, right? ඊළඟට අපි කතා කරන්න යන්නේ long run එකේදී මොකද වෙන්නේ කියන එක, right? So when it comes to the long run, we have identified that So when it comes to the long run, we have identified that there is no any change in the GDP, or in other words, we have identified that even though in the short run we have our output had reduced from point A to point B, the output is going back to its natural level in the long run, right? Which means even though in the short run we have decreases from y bar to y2, in the long run we are coming back to the y bar, right? Which means in the long run, so here I'm going to write my equation. We have the savings equals y minus c minus g, and in this equation now in the long run y is going to be getting increases, which mean savings are again going increases, or in other words y is going back to its original position, which mean the savings are also going back to its original position, which mean even though there is a shift happen in the savings like this in the short run, when it comes to the long run, savings curve is going back to its original position. Why it is going back to its original position? Because in the long run output is going back to its natural level. That's why the savings are again going back to its original level. So in the long run, what is happen? Savings are again increasing, and on the other hand, what happened to the real interest rate? It is getting decreases, right? So this is the answer for the part D, right? So with that we have completed the question number 2 as well. Then we can go to the question number 3. So what you can do is you can pause the video from here and try to do the question number 3 by yourself, right? So I hope everyone would try to do that. මම හිතනවා හැමෝම මේක කරන්න try කරයි කියන එක. Okay, so shall we read the question number 3? So the question number 3 says that suppose that in the scenario A, central banks cares only about the keeping price level stable, right? So they are giving us the two scenarios. So in the scenario A, central bank is trying to keep their price level stable. However, when it comes to the scenario B, it says that central banks care only about keeping the output and the unemployment at their natural level, right? So in this scenario we have given the scenario A and scenario B. So in the scenario A, what the central bank try to do is they try to keep the price level stable, right? However, when it comes to the scenario B, what the central bank is try to do, rather than stabilizing the price level, they are try to they in other words they are trying to keep the output and the employment at their natural level. I'm sorry. So in the scenario B, what they are trying to do is they are trying to keep the output and the employment at their natural levels, right? Then the question is asking us explain how in each scenario the central bank would respond to the following, right? So the first thing scenario they have given us is the an exogenous decrease in the velocity of money, right? So they have given us the scenario A. So in this scenario A, what has happened? They are, because of the exogenous reason happen, anyway the velocity has now decreases, right? So now the question is asking us in this scenario, if the central bank decided to go with the scenario A, what will happen? And if the central bank decided to go with the scenario B, what will happen? That's what we need to discuss. කිව්වේ මේ ප්‍රශ්න කතා කරන්නේ මේ point A එකේ දීලා තියෙන සිනාරියෝ එකට central bank එක කොහොමද react කරන්න කියලා අපි බලනවා. ඔයාලා කතා කරන්න ඕන. එතනදී scenario A එක පාවිච්චි කරනවා නම් මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ කියන එක සහ scenario B එකේ central bank එක නම් ඉන්නේ මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ කියන එක ඔයාලා කතා කරන්න ඕන. Right? So for the moment we are going to look at the first part, right? So I'm going to take this one here. So we are going to look at the first here. මේක ගැන තමයි අපි මුලින්ම කතා කරන්න යන්නේ. So before we move in to talk about the scenario A and scenario B separately, first we will try to understand the scenario, right? So according to the question, now what has happened? The velocity is now getting decreases. So you have now familiar the formula we are using. We are using the quantity theory of money equation, and in this equation now what has happened is the velocity has now getting decreases. So when the velocity is getting decreases, this p into y side also need to be getting decreases, which mean on the other finally we can say that the aggregate demand of the economy is getting decreases. එහෙනම් මේ වෙලාවේ මොකක්ද උනේ කියලා ගත්තොත් එහෙම velocity එක අඩු වුණ හින්දා aggregate demand එක අඩු වෙලා තියෙනවා. Right? Then what you need to do is you have to identify now what has happened according to this scenario. The aggregate demand has decreases, right? Then you need to have identify if the central bank is following the scenario A, which means if the central bank want to if the central bank want the price stability, right? Price stability එක නම් central bank එකට ඕන central bank එක මොකද්ද කරන්න ඕන කියන එක හොයාගන්න ඕන, right? If the central bank want to have the price stability, what they would do, then you need to identify if the central bank want to have the in other words, if the central bank want to keep their output and the employment at their natural level, what they would do. So in the first scenario they want to keep the price, they want to maintain the price stability, and in the second scenario they want to have a stable output and employment level, right? Yeah, output and the employment, output and employment, right? So we need to understand according to the scenario now the aggregate demand has decreases, so we need to understand what the central bank would do in these two scenarios, right? So firstly we are going, what to do is we need to draw a graph and identify or the mark how this aggregate demand shift will affect in the market, right? graph එකක් ඇඳලා අපි ඉස්සෙල්ලම බලන්න ඕන මොකද්ද මේක හින්දා වෙන්නේ කියන එක. So I have taken the for the my easiness I am taking a photo of the graph. So this is the graph that you should draw. මේක තමයි ඔයාලා අඳින්න ඕන graph එක, right? So here I think you have familiar with this graph now. ඔයාලා දැන් මේදී මේ graph එක ගැන familiar වෙලා තියෙන්න ඕන. So I'm not going to go much detail. Now what has happened according to our scenario, the aggregate demand curve was initially at this point. However, because of the given scenario, which means the reducers happen in the velocity, the aggregate demand will shift to the left side, right? So when that is happening in the short run, we have identified that previously also, we will move from point A to point B, right? But in the long run we are coming back to the point C, right? මේ කතාව අපි මෙච්චරලා කතා කරපු කතාව මම ඉගෙන ලොකුවට explain කරන්න යන්නේ. When the aggregate demand has shifted from AD1 to AD2, we have moved from point A to point B in the short run. In the long run we have moved from point B to point C, right? Right? So now if we look at the scenario A, what we want to have, we need to have the price stability in the economy. However, when we are looking at this graph, what we can see, in the long run we have moved from point A to point C, which means our price has reduced from P1 to P2. The prices has reduced, which means there is no price stability. Again, price stability කියන එකක් නෑ මේ වෙලාවේ. Then what the central bank want to do if they, what the central bank would do if they want to make the price stability. So in this kind of a scenario, what the central bank need to do is they need to shift the aggregate demand curve back to its original position, right? in order to maintain the same price level, which mean in order to come back to this point A, what the central bank need to do? Central bank need to shift this aggregate demand curve to its original position. Then we can have the same price level. Then the question is how we can shift the how the central bank can shift the aggregate demand curve to the upside. So what the central bank can do is, so in this equation we have identified that as a result of decrease happen in the velocity, this decrease in the aggregate demand has happened. Then what the central bank can do is they can increases the money supply. When the central bank increases the money supply, you know that the aggregate demand is going to getting increases. So which mean in order to maintain the price stability, what the central bank would do, they need to increase the money supply, right? In order to maintain the price stability, what the central bank need to do, then they need to increases the money supply. When the central bank increases the money supply, AD to we will shift back to the AD1 curve, which means we are coming back to our original position, right? Then when it comes to the second scenario, which means now the central bank want to have the stable output and the employment level. So in this scenario also, what the central bank can do is they can follow the same scenario in here, or the same policy application like this, right? So if, as we discussed previously, when the central bank follow this application, anyway we are going back to our initial equilibrium level of point A. So in this point A there is no any issue, price level also stable, output is also stable. That's why for the scenario A and for the scenario B, increase in the money supply would be a great decision, right? මෙන්න මේ අවස්ථා දෙකේදීම මේ money supply එක වැඩි කරනවා කියන එක great scenario එකක් වෙන්නේ මෙන්න මේ හේතුව හින්දා, right? So that is for the part A. Then we need to decide uh, then we need to decide what will happen in the scenario B, right? So this is the scenario B. So we are going to discuss what will happen in this scenario. Now before we move into that, so here what has changed, the variable that is changing is the velocity, right? Which mean this is a what kind of shock? This is a demand side shock, right? Why it is a demand side shock? It is affecting to the aggregate demand, right? However, when we are coming to the next question, it says that there is a increase in the price of oil, which mean this is what, this is the shift in the aggregate supply curve, which means this is an demand, sorry, it's not a demand shock, it is a supply side shock, right? It is a supply side shock. එහෙනම් මෙන්න මේක supply side එකට අදාළ shock එකක්, right? Then we are going to draw in this graph, draw this scenario in the graph. Then we are going to look at what are the policy action on the scenario A and the scenario B. Okay, so as we have identified in the previous question, that means the question 1 also, when there is an increase in the price of oil, we have identified it as a supply side shock, which means ultimately what will happen to the aggregate supply curve, it is getting decreases, right? So I'm going to identify how we can show that in a graph, right? Okay, so I have a drawer graph in here. Here we have our long run aggregate supply curve. Here we have the long run aggregate supply curve, and this is our short run aggregate supply curve, and this is our aggregate demand curve. And this point A is our initial equilibrium point. So you have familiar with these things now, right? Then what has happened according to our scenario? The aggregate supply has now getting decreases, which mean this aggregate supply curve is now shifting to the upside, right? Or in other words, this aggregate supply curve is shifting to the upward to the right side, right? So this is the new short run aggregate supply curve. So what has happened to the aggregate supply curve? It has increased, so it has moved upward, right? So when that is happening, what is our new output in the short run? This is our new equilibrium point in the short run. I call it as the point B, right? So in this point B, this is our output level of Y1, right? And this is the price level of P1, right? So what has happened in the short run? When the aggregate supply is getting decreases in the short run, our output has reduced, and on the other hand, the price level of the economy has increases, right? So this is what has happened in the short run. However, if you can remember in the long run scenario, so I'm just writing here, in the short run what has happened, prices has increases, and on the other hand output has getting decreases. But when it comes to the long run, what will happen, we can see that our aggregate demand curve has not shifted, which means we are going to look at which point our aggregate demand curve is intersecting with the long run aggregate supply curve. Here you can see that we are intersecting at the point A, right? Which means in the long run, even though in the short run we have moved from point A to point B, when it comes to the long run, we are coming back to our original position, or in other words, we are coming back to our initial equilibrium of point A. So which means in the long run, there is no any change in the price level, there is no change in the price level as well as the output level. price level එකේවත් output level එකේවත් කිසිම වෙනසක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඇයි? අපි point B එකේ ඉඳන් point A එකට එනවා long run එකට එද්දි. Right? So now we have understood what will happen when there is a increase of the oil prices. So we have separately identified the implication in the short run and the long run, right? Now according to our question, we are going to look at if the central bank want to maintain the price stability, what they should do. And in the scenario B, we are going to look at if the central bank want to stabilize their output and the employment, what they would do, right? So now we have understood the scenario, then we are going to look at how the central bank should how the central bank is going to respond in each of these scenario, right? So firstly we are going to talk about the price stability scenario, which means now the central bank is focusing on the price stability, right? So now what the central bank want to do? They want to have a price stability in the economy. Or in other words, there should not be any price increases or decreases happen in the economy. Right? So when we are looking at this scenario, we can see that in the short run the prices has increases. However, when it comes to the long run, prices have come back to its original position, or in other words, in the long run there is no any change in the price level, right? So in the short run there can be some variation, however when it comes to the long run there is no any change in the price level, which means price is stable. Which means if the central bank want to have the price stability, right? If the central bank want to maintain the price stability in the country, what they should do, they should do nothing. එයාලා මේ වෙලාවේ කිසිම දෙයක් කරන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. මොකද කිසිම දෙයක් කරන්න ඕනේ නැත්තේ short run එකේ මේ විදිහට price එකේ වැඩිවීමක් වුණත් long run එකේ අපි back to original position, අපි original position එකටම එනවා, right? Why they should do nothing? Because in the long run, in the short run, even though the prices has increases, when it comes to the long run we are coming back to our original price level, right? So this is what the central bank is going to do in the if they are focusing on the price stability, right? Then we are going to look at what the central bank is going to do if they want to stabilize the output and the employment, or in other words, keeping the output and the employment at their natural level, right? So we are going to look at the scenario B. So in this scenario B, the central bank is focusing on what? Central bank is focusing the keeping the output and employment at their natural level, which means they want to be at this long run aggregate supply curve. Which means in order to do that, what the central bank is going to do, so if you look at here carefully, in the short run, when the oil prices are getting increases, price level of the economy is increases. However, output has now reduced, right? But what is the purpose of central bank now? They want to maintain the same level of output, which means they don't like to have this kind of decrease in the output. Maybe the output එකේ වෙන අඩුවීමක් මෙයාලා දකින්න කැමති නෑ, because they want to maintain the same level of output. Therefore, what the central bank can do, hope you guys can remember that we have discussed about this equation, right? M into V is equal P into Y. So here you can remember that if the central bank increases the money supply, P into Y increases, or in other words, the aggregate demand is getting increases, right? Then what has now happened in our scenario? When the short run aggregate supply curve is getting increases, output has now reduces, right? However, if you can remember that by shifting the aggregate demand curve, we can influence on the output level. Why? According to this equation, central bank can change the money supply. When they are changing the money supply, it is impacting on the price level as well as the output level, right? So what the central bank is going to do now, they are going to increases the money supply. So when they are increasing the money supply, what will happen to the aggregate demand? It is getting increases, right? So now we are assuming that central bank is going to increases the money supply, and now the aggregate demand curve is shifting to the upward like this. when මේ විදිහට aggregate demand curve එක central bank එක shift කරනවා. When that is happening, we are moving to the new equilibrium point of this point C, right? So in this point C, we can see that we have our aggregate demand curve has intersected with the both the short run aggregate supply curve and the long run aggregate supply curve as well, which means we have come to the equilibrium in the short run as well as the long run, or in other words, we have come to our original output and the employment level, right? However, when we are looking at the price level in here, we can see that at the initially we are at the point A, which means the price level is P0. However, now we have moved to the new equilibrium point of point C. So in this point C, even though we have come to our initial output level, the price level is relatively high, right? So which means even though we, according to the central bank action here, we have taken our aggregate demand has shifted to the right side. However, our price level has increases even though we have come to our original output level. Therefore, we can identify that if the central bank want to keep their output and the employment at their natural level, and if they want to do it immediately, yes, they can. How they are going to do that? They are going to change the money supply, and by doing that, they can influence on the aggregate demand. Then the aggregate demand curve is shifting to the right side. However, when they are doing that, what will happen? The output level of the economy has come back to its natural level. However, the price level has increases, right? තොර සෙන්ට්‍රල් බෑන්ක් එකට මේ වෙලාවේ එයාලට අවුට්පුට් එක ඒ ගාන මේන්ටේන් කරගන්න ඕන නම් ඇග්‍රීගේට් ඩිමාන්ඩ් එක වැඩි කිරීම තුලින් මනි සප්ලයි එක වැඩි කිරීම තුලින් ඇග්‍රීගේට් ඩිමාන්ඩ් එක වැඩි කරලා C කියන ඉක්විලිබ්‍රියම් පොයින්ට් එකට එන්න පුළුවන්, right? හැබැයි මේ C කියන ඉක්විලිබ්‍රියම් පොයින්ට් එකට එන එකේ ඉෂුව එක තමයි අපි අපේ ඔරිජිනල් අවුට්පුට් ලෙවල් වලට ආවත් price level එක වැඩි. Oh yeah, in the higher price, right? So that is for the that is the answer for the question number I think we are in the question number 3, right? So next we are going to look at the question number 4. Actually, before we move into the question number 4, I would like to go to the question number 5, right? So firstly we are going to look at the question number 5. අපි question number 5 ඉවර කරලා ඊළඟ ප්‍රශ්න බලන්න යමු, right? So this is the question number 5. So the question number 5 is asking us to do a small calculation. So what I want from you guys is you can again pause the video and try to do this question by yourself, right? So I hope everyone has tried to do that. So in the question number 5 it says that in a country the velocity of money is constant, right? So the velocity is constant, and then the real GDP grow by 3% per year, right? And the money stock grow by 8% per year. Then the nominal interest rate is 9%, right? And you are asked to calculate the following, right? First thing they are asking is the growth rate of the nominal GDP, right? So we are going to calculate that first. අපි මුලින්ම මේක calculate කරන්න යමු. So we are going to look at the part A. අපි මුලින්ම බලන්නේ part A එක. So we are in the part A. So if you can remember the quantity theory of money equation, it is M into V is equal to P into I, right? In here, if we want to take the percentage change of the variable, right? Or in other words, if you want to incorporate the percentage change in the variable, you can incorporate that, right? When you are going to incorporating that, we can do a small modification to the this equation, which mean the percentage change in the money supply into percentage change in the velocity is equal to percentage change in the price level into percentage change in the output level, right? මේ තිබ same equation එකට මම පොඩි part එකක් add කරා percentage change කියන එක මම add කරපු එක තමයි කරේ, right? So I have add the percentage change to this whole equation, right? Now if we again look at the question, what it is saying that velocity for money is constant, right? So that means the velocity is now constant. So if we look at the percentage change in the velocity, it is equal to 0. Why? There is no any change in the velocity, right? And again the question is saying that the real GDP grow by 3% per year, right? Real GDP is grow by 3% per year, which means this is growing by 3% per year. මේක අවුරුද්දට 103කින් වැඩි වෙනවා, right? And we don't have anything with regard to the percentage change in the price, and the money stock grow by 8% per year. So this is increasing by 8% per year. මේක අවුරුද්දට 108කින් වැඩි වෙනවා. So this is 0, right? So I'm going to erase this one. We don't need this, so I'm going to erase this one. Then what we can do is, if the first thing they are asking us to identify is, we need to calculate what is the growth rate in the nominal GDP. So if you can remember, in this equation we have identified that this P into Y is the nominal GDP, right? This P into I is the nominal GDP නේ. අපි මෙන්න මේ P into I කියන එක කෙනාට අපි nominal GDP කියලා කිව්වේ. And in here we have identified that the percentage change in the money supply is 8% and the percentage change in the velocity is 0, which mean this side of the equation is increasing by 8%, which mean this side also needed to increases by 8%, which mean the growth rate of the nominal GDP is how much? It is 8%, right? එනම් මේ GDP growth rate එක කියන එක හෙව්වොත් එහෙම මේක ඔයාලට එන්න ඕන answer එක 8% කියන එක, right? So the percentage change in the GDP is equal to 8%, right? මේක තමයි part A එකට answer එක වෙන්නේ. Then for the part B, it is asking us to calculate the inflation rate. So what is mean by inflation? Inflation is the continuous increase happening in the price level, right? Or in other words, it is the change in the price level of the economy, right? So in this equation we have identified that the change in the this side is 8% and we have already identified the percentage change in the real GDP is 3%. Then you can easily calculate that the percentage change in the price level is how much. If this side increases by 8%, this side also needed to increase by 8%, and from that 8% we have already identified 3% is coming from Y, which means rest of the 5% is coming from as a result of change in the price level of the economy. Which means if you want to calculate it using a formula, you can say that percentage change in the price level is equal to percentage change in the money supply decreases, from that you have decreases the percentage change in the output level of the economy. Then what will happen, we have identified this as 8% and this is 3%. This is 3%, which means the percentage change in the price level is 5%, right? So this is the answer for the part B. Then if we look at the part C, it is asking us to calculate the real interest rate. Then you need to keep in your mind that what is the formula for the real interest rate. So what is the formula for the real interest rate? So if you can remember, the formula for the real interest rate is nominal interest rate minus inflation, right? Nominal interest rate minus inflation. So in this question, as I can remember, they have given us the nominal interest rate as 9%, right? So they have given us the nominal interest rate as 9%. From that we have calculated the inflation as 5%. Then what is the real interest rate? It is 4%, right? So this is the answer for the part C. Then we can go to the final question, that is the question number 4. So I have pasted the question number 4 in here. So it says that in each of the following scenario, explain the categories of the cost of inflation, right? So the first one is saying that because of the inflation has risen, the popular Sri Lankan clothing retailer Odell decided to update and reprint the product catalog every month instead of every quarter. So previously the Odell has reprint in their catalog in each and every quarter. However, because of the increase happening in the inflation, they are going to do it monthly, right? So if you can remember the inflation tutorial, we have talked about the 5 types of inflation. So can you guys pause for a moment and go back to that tute and try to read and understand what are the five types of inflation, then try to think this scenario is more suitable for what kind of category, inflation category, right? So if I go to the answer here, we can say that it is a menu cost. Why I'm saying menu cost? The company need to again and again, or in other words, the company need to frequently print and distribute their new catalog, right? So that's why we are telling that this is a menu cost type of inflation. Because of the inflation, company need to update their prices more frequently in order to show the changing cost, right? So that should be your answer for the part A. And in moving on to the part B, it says that in 2022 Mr. Silva lended 1 million to his friend under the 5-year fixed loan agreement at a 10% annual interest rate. At this time, both expected inflation remaining low. However, over the next few years, inflation had surged unexpectedly, and the prices of the goods and services are tripled. Right, so we need to understand what will happen in this kind of a scenario. So what will happen in this scenario? Because of the unexpected inflation happen, what will happen is it is reducing the real value of the money repaid, and it is giving us some kind of a benefit to the borrower, and on the other hand it is hurting to the lender. මෙහෙම වුණාම සල්ලි ණයට දුන්න කෙනාට මේක කරදරයක් වෙනවා, ඒකෙන් හානියක් වෙනවා. හැබැයි සල්ලි ණයට ගත්ත කෙනාට මේකෙන් හොඳක් තමයි වෙන්නේ. So the cost type, we can identify this as the arbitrary redistribution of the purchasing power. So if you don't know what is that, you can go to the slide and refer it again. Then moving to the part C, said that the Kamal lives in an economy with a hyperinflation. Each day after being paid, she runs to the store as quick as possible so she can spend her money before it loses value. So what we call this kind of cost of inflation? We call this as the shoe leather cost. Why we are telling it is a shoe leather cost? The cost of managing and making the frequent transaction to avoid the holding devaluation of money. අපේ අතේ තියන් ඉන්න මේ මුදල් වල තියෙන මුදලේ වටිනාකම අඩු වෙන්න අපි මේකට එක දිගට මහන්සිලා මේකින් frequently transaction කරන හින්දා තමයි අපි මේකට කියන්නේ shoe leather cost එක කියලා. Right? And why we are doing that? We want to avoid the inflation tax, right? So in the lecture we have discussed what is mean by inflation tax. If you can't remember, you have to refer back to your notes. Then if we go to the part D, it says that Nimal earned 5 million as a capital gain from the stock investment in 2023. Despite being the inflation of 50%, he paid 1 million in capital gain tax based on the nominal income. So what is this? We can identify this is as a unfair tax treatment. Why we can identify this as the unfair tax treatment? Because the taxation is based on the nominal income, not based on the actual income, right? So it is based on the nominal income, and that can be leads to the unadjusted tax base, unadjusted tax burden during an inflation situation, right? Then we can go to the final part. It says that your father says he earned 20 rupee per hour in 1980, and he claims you are lucky to earn 190 rupee now. So what is this cost type? We can identify this as the general inconvenience, right? Why we are saying this is general inconvenience? Because even though your father got a salary as 20 rupee in the 1980, when it comes to the today's context, there can be some across the time from 1980 to 2024. Now we have the different in factors affecting to that, or in other word, there can be inflations and there can be other reasons as well. So as a result of these other reasons, even though in the 1980s the salary was 20 rupee, When it comes to the present context, it has increases to 190. So we can identify this as the general inconveniences. So with that, we can come to the end of the tutorial number 5. Right. So thank you very much for listening today. So have a nice day.